going on, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Revived, episode number 19. I am your host, as always, Shane Craig, and joining me is the lovely Jessi Craig.
Hello.
If you don't know, Podcast Revived is where we share our love of tech, gaming, and nerd culture with all of you lovely people. We record every week. We post every week on YouTube, as well as all of the major podcasting services like iTunes and Spotify. Be sure to leave a like or a rating wherever you happen to be watching or listening. That helps us out a whole lot more than I think a lot of people know, and it takes you about half of 1 second to click that like button. So, without further ado, I think we're going to do things a little bit differently this time. Usually we try and make things nice and structured. You know, we have topics, we have things we're going to, usually I've got 3 or 4 subjects and things that, we're going to talk about. And I just got to thinking the other day that, for me, the podcasts I enjoy the most are the ones that are the most conversational and free-flowing. And so I think we're going to consider episode 19 as maybe a little bit of an experiment, because for this episode, I really don't have any topics. I really don't know what we're really going to talk about for the next 40 minutes. And I'm trusting...
Guess we'll find out.
I'm trusting that we're just going to kind of figure things out. So I guess we should start things off with just kind of, in the last week, what have we been up to? What have we been doing? And strangely enough, we've been playing a game that I haven't played in many years. And not only have we been playing, we've kind of pulled just 5 of us now.
Yeah.
Playing pretty much daily. We've been playing Minecraft.
And it's been great. It's been good to delve back into that game.
With, it's myself, Jessi, my friend Jacob, my buddy Ray, and Daniel, who's on YouTube under YoungBread401, all in this Minecraft realm, just getting after it, working hard.
Yeah. Just doing our own things, making our own absurd... I feel like we're creating this giant kingdom, but all of us are very different in how we play Minecraft and what we're after. And it's been really interesting to me to see where we started and where we are now in just a few days. It's been maybe 4 or 5 days, like maybe a week or something.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Yeah, something in that ballpark. What do you think it is about Minecraft that is so scalable? Because it's like the biggest game on Earth still somehow, and it's been out now for a long time. And it's a weird thing because young kids like it, and even adults like it, and they play it in different sorts of ways. So what do you think it is about Minecraft that is so infinitely scalable?
Well, I think the biggest part of it is the freedom. You just start out in this world with nothing, and you get the freedom to do whatever you want with it. I do think that there's a part of it that is really enticing. I almost enter almost like a trance-like state, and I'm not trying to be metaphysical or anything, but it's when you're driving and you're just kind of on autopilot and you're just doing it, and you enter the state where you're not really having to think that much. Mm-hmm. That's kind of the state of mind that I get into when I'm creating. And I think pretty much everybody can kind of understand that a little bit. You kind of get a little bit of an idea of what you want to do, and then you just go from there and you start doing stuff you never really intended to do, So, yeah, it's very relaxing too.
I think that if there's a problem that I have with Minecraft, it's that the freedom is a double-edged sword for me. Because I feel like sometimes I run into moments where I don't really have a goal in mind. Mm-hmm. So I need a goal. I need to be told sometimes, initially you spawn and you've got nothing, and the goal's obvious. Build a house. You have nothing, get some things. Build a house, get shelter, equipment, start mining, coal, iron, start looking for diamonds. Once you've gotten to that point...
I didn't do any of that.
Right. Once you get to that point, then for me it's okay, well, what's next? And, I guess the answer is go to the Nether, fight some of these bosses in the Nether, and so forth and so on.
Yeah, none of those things are the things that I do. Now I have done them back when we played for quite a bit, probably about what, 3 or 4 years ago, we played on the PS4 for a while. We would
Yeah,
jump into each other's worlds, and I think it was yours or Jacob's world. We would go in there and we had like this huge area too. But for me, like, I tend to get stuck on wanting to terraform because the randomness of Minecraft kind of stresses me out a little bit. I don't know what that is, if it's like a compulsive thing for me, but like where you started your house, there was like a bunch of deserty area, and I was like, okay, well, there's a spot right there. I can flatten that out and make a house. And then behind it, there's this like really random, chaotic like mountain that just didn't have any order or sense to it. And I'm like, well, I'm gonna flatten that out. And then I ended up turning it into a huge maze. And then like
right.
there was a pyramid, and now I'm just working like literally like sections around me that are chaotic that bother me by the way that they look. I'm gonna flatten them and turn them into something, and it's just seeing where I can go from there. So
Yeah, and you know it's interesting. You know, first off, I'm showing a aerial image of your unfinished maze. I want to point out that while I am flying
I'm
in
proud of it.
while I am flying in that picture, that was me pulling the server off of or our map off of the realm server and going into adventure mode so that I could fly to see the landscape. We play in survival mode.
Yeah,
We don't
yeah.
play in creative mode or whatever it's called.
And I've died
Um,
many times in that maze,
yeah,
in the creating of that maze.
it is really interesting, I think, to watch like what everyone does, how everyone has sort of a different approach to things. Everyone gets caught up in their own projects and does things totally differently. Like I've got this kind of rustic looking house that's not too big. It's pretty small, but I don't really care. And
Yeah,
then
because you're not in it that much.
you're never in it. Then you've got this big
Yeah.
expansive sandstone thing with this huge maze in the back, and Jacob's
And a
got
tree
this.
forest on top.
Yeah, Jacob's got this insane lava waterfall that he worked on for like an hour, and he's
And a
always
floating aquarium.
yeah, he's always working on these weird projects, and like you know, it's interesting to see what motivates different people. Like I think Jacob's much more motivated to get gear and to go into the Nether where there are more intense fighting
Yeah,
and
challenges.
more. Yeah, he seems to be much more intrigued with that um, than maybe you are. I really enjoy
Yeah.
exploring, just wandering
Yeah.
off and seeing what the
That
next
is
hill might unveil.
Yeah, I definitely like that too. I didn't do much of that in this playthrough because it seems like we got into a seed that doesn't really like it's really a lot of desert and like prairie. Like I
Well,
haven't seen
we
it's a
happen
fly in here
we
much at
happen
all.
we happen to be near the desert, but if you get out, there are other
Yeah.
forests and so forth not too far away. But yeah, I mean it's a really like I feel like you're definitely not motivated by the combat and fighting in Minecraft. You're
No.
you're like you're much more. I think you're sort of put tolerating the fighting while you build the
Yeah.
things that you want to build.
I am for sure. Like it bothers me so much to have to fight. Like I'm sitting there and I'm like, well, there's 5 of us, and I really just want to sleep through the night so I can keep creating, but I can't. So I've just been going in and I'm like, whatever, I'm gonna fight and try and keep working through the night constantly to get this damn thing done. And I think I'm finally done with it. So that's a good thing.
What's next? I mean, how do you decide what you're supposed to do next? If you're not chasing the fight, if you're not chasing the bosses,
Um, for me, it's just seeing what I can create. Like I've never made like a pyramid, and I was like, and honestly, the maze came out of my desire to do a pyramid. I was like, oh, it'd be really cool to do like a traditional like Egyptian pyramid that has like the maze like inside of it. And then I was like, well, I'll just do the maze. I've never done that before. One time back when playing on PS4, I created like a coliseum that was like really legit, and then I took on this project where I was like, well, I'm gonna create a bridge to every island like on my map. Like I had my map, and I played a lot on the PS4, and I went in and I was like, okay, here's an island right here. Here's my home camp. I completely terraformed that whole area right there. It was a mountainous region, and I turned it into something different. And then I like I created a bridge to every single place on my map. And I was like, I'm gonna turn this into a legitimate like continent, like a Jessi terraformed continent.
Do you think that if you were playing in creative mode, that would lessen the feeling of accomplishment because it would be
Oh,
so much
definitely.
easier?
Yeah, like it wouldn't be as fun to me if I didn't have to fight, if I didn't have to eat, if I didn't have to do all this stuff. If the threat of death was not there, then my accomplishments wouldn't feel as fun. It's like,
Sure.
look what I did and look what I had to die 20 times to do,
It's not like the combat in Minecraft is like good because it's really not. But there's something about the struggle because it can actually be difficult. Like especially if you turn the difficulty up, even on normal, it's not too bad, but there are moments where you can get yourself, it's precarious. I'll give you an example. The other day I was, something happened and there was a part of my roof got messed up and I was building up to go fix that. And I have lava kind of around my house. Like it's like a moat. And I'm doing this and one of these stupid dragon things swoops down and knocks me into like perfectly into the lava. And I've got, diamond enchanted pickaxe. All my tools are enchanted, which, these are all things that you have to work not for 10 minutes towards. You probably had to work for a good amount of time towards. And I'm on fire. And on top of that, the moat is surrounded by a fence. You can't jump. So I'm like kind of stuck in there.
So you can't get out.
So I managed to quickly tab, get a block of dirt into my inventory, jump, drop the block of dirt down right as I burned to death. So my object stayed on top of that dirt. So I was able to retrieve my items. But I nearly lost what could have been seen as an hour's worth of work just because a mob attacked me at the wrong time in the wrong place and things just went the wrong way. So there's something about that precarious nature of risk. It's like I'd find diamonds, and again, diamonds only spawn, from bedrock up to like square 16. So you have to dig way down, and they're rare. So you got to dig way down, and then you got to start digging out and looking for diamonds and hoping you'll find a handful. But when you find them, you make a tool, then you go and enchant that tool using this blue shit that you also find down pretty deep, and an enchanting table that's made of, stuff that's kind of hard to find. So whatever, you get this good tool, and then you almost, for me, I have that like struggle of like, well, this tool it's great. It's going to last forever. It's really effective. But it was so hard for me to get it. I almost don't want to carry it because I'm afraid I'm going to get out somewhere. I'm going to die. And I'm not going to be able to get back to my tools. I'm not going to be able to find them again. Jacob lost a whole bunch of his tools the other day. Out looking for something up by the ocean. So there's this weird like give and take where I think I've got like 40 diamonds. And it's like, well, you should make something out of them. And I'm like, well, if I make something out of them, then I won't have them anymore. And then if I lose those things, they'll be gone. So
that's so funny to me. That tells me a lot about you just as a person.
Yeah, it does though. It kind of does reveal a bit like, people are going into my house and I have a double chest that's literally almost totally full of 64 stacks of cobblestone. Like, what are you going to use that cobblestone for? I'm like, I don't know. Something maybe. Like,
I've been using it. I've been using all of your cobblestone to make stone tools because I can't be bothered to go get
iron.
Decent tools.
Well, if
I get a diamond pickaxe, I'll be set. But right now, I'm happy to use just the stone tools because for me, it gives me a way to like step away from my project and like I got to go make some tools, But it's been really fun.
There's something about it in the terms of like, okay, for me, if I have a project in mind, it's like, okay, I'm going to do this thing. Excuse me. You can, unlike a lot of other games, you can become goal-oriented and you can almost just shut your brain off. And that may sound, some people will hear that, maybe non-gamers would hear that and be like, shut your game off or your brain off. That's why would you want to do that? And it's like, well, we all find ways to shut our brains off, whether it's music or a podcast or a video or TV or movies. We all find ways to shut our brains off and escape. And Minecraft looks unimpressive unless you install some shaders, which we're playing on the Windows 10 edition because the multiplayer
shaders would be cool, but
the shaders look incredible. But I mean, it doesn't look good. The combat isn't great, but there's something about it. There's something about the open nature of it and the way that it interacts with your imagination.
Yeah, definitely.
The way that it allows you to think of something, and then it makes accomplishing that goal not trivially easy, but also not crushingly hard. Like, you can do it.
Yeah.
I'll use the example of, let's see here. Ray, this is even smaller now by a good margin than it was before, but he's been, making this insane
Huge wheat
garden
plantation.
thing. And, he's been working at this off and on for like literally hours. And people might look at that and be like, wow, what a waste of time. Why would you do that? It's like, well,
we're using it though.
well, I mean, okay, but in the grander sense, in the game, it makes sense because it's a never-ending food source.
Yeah.
In the game world, sure. In the real world, people might be like, why would you want to waste, hours of your life placing dirt, buckets of water, planks around it? What's the point?
It's almost like art though. It's like it's you kind of dip into like expression as well.
Well, it's hours at a time that you're not stressed about work. You're not stressed about interpersonal shit.
Yeah.
You're just working on this thing. You've turned your brain off and you've turned on a different side of your brain that you almost never get to use in day-to-day life.
Yes.
You never get to be
enticing.
creative. And there's something about it. Like, there's a reason that after a while, I wanted to jump up in, copy my server over and fly so that I could see, from above. Because you can't, like, I've jumped into, someone else's server the other day, and they're like, oh, look at all the stuff we did. Like, and it was fine. But, like, each one of us, I feel like, has created something on the scale of what their server had. And there's 5 of us each creating something on that scale, and that, we're all just, neighbors, and we're all just building out these huge things.
Yeah,
and doing
I
all
love that.
So you pop in and you go over to Daniel's and like, oh man, that looks really good. How, when did you do that? Oh yeah, I did that earlier today. And you go over to Ray. Hey man, your garden's gotten even bigger. That's crazy. Yeah, And we're all just in there talking and having a good time and experimenting and trying things. Jacob's trying to build some sort of crazy contraption to like replicate wood. Yeah, something like that. He's been working at that for like the last 2 days, trying to figure out what's not working. And it is unlike anything else in terms of being a communal space to go to that is unproblematic and not stressful, but also not so easy that no one cares. Because you need the challenge. People need a challenge. It's why people play Demon Souls and things like that. Some people want more of a challenge than others.
Yeah.
I tend to be someone that, the harder the challenge, the more rewarding it is when you accomplish it. And what's so interesting about Minecraft is you can create your own challenges on your own scale. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's what's so interesting about it. Is it scales to you. If you're a kid and you don't really, you're not trying to do anything crazy, you're just trying to like, oh, look at this house I made, Mom. Sure, you made a dirt house with learn how to make glass windows. Like, and she's like, yeah, that's great, honey. Or you're an adult and you're like, I made this contraption made of these duplicators and redstone and these switches, and it goes up and does all these things, and then you got to swim up a waterfall to get to the top of it. When you turn it on, it duplicates a tree, and TNT falls and blows up the tree, and then the bits of wood go filter into a box, and then it scales endlessly to as simple or to as complex as you want it to be.
Yeah.
So you can say, I'm going to make this giant maze, and it's going to be hard for me, but not so hard that I'll never accomplish it.
Yeah.
I can say, I'm going to dig down to block 12 and start clearing out acres and acres of land looking for diamonds.
Oh, that'd be cool to have like an underground tunnel system though.
I have one. It's right in my front yard. You've not been down there. It's what I've been doing.
No, I haven't.
It's what I've been doing when I'm not talking for minutes on end. I'm just down there just chipping away. OCD just taking hold. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's the way that it scales. The
I
way
think
that
so. I one thing that I really enjoyed was Jacob came over, and this just, like you were talking about it being like an unproblematic community or whatever. He came over, and at this point, I don't think I had started on the maze. I think I was trying to clear out like one of the mountains behind me, and I started stacking it like a pyramid. And then did the same thing on the inside of it, kind of stacked down like that. And he goes, "Oh man, that's sick. Are you gonna put water in there? Are you gonna make it a pool?" And I was like, "Yeah." I was like thinking about it, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna do that." Like just like bouncing ideas off
yeah.
of each other, and then I do it, and then I'm like, "Oh yeah, this is like really cool." I mean, just I haven't looked at everybody else's places in a while. I've been stuck on the maze, but I'm gonna go take a look, and it's just really for me like because I'm very much into art and I like to see
Expression.
expression. I like to see what people do who you don't really get that sense from. Like for me, like you and Ray and Jacob and Daniel, like I don't really know what kind of artistic abilities you guys have, but then I go in and I see what you've done and I'm like, well, that's like really cool. It's
And
just a
it's
side that you get to see inside someone's thinking, like inside their mind, like how they think, and it's just really cool to me.
well, and it's yeah, it's interesting too because like you look at like the garden and it's like okay, well
Hmm.
it's very regimented. Like he could have made two blocks of two squares of grass between spaced out, but he didn't. He wanted to do one. It's very equal distances and it's all very or it's
Symmetrical and
very orderly and
yeah,
that's telling. And then you look at it really does show. It gives you sort of a weird window into the way that people's minds work.
yeah. I'm excited to see where it goes. I'm hoping we can stay on the same server and keep expanding, but I kind of have a feeling that we're gonna have to like eventually move to a different area that's a little bit more inviting or create an area that is inviting. I don't know. Not sure about that one, but it's been really good. I like the desert area.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been interesting. I've definitely had a few moments where I've been like I'm not really sure what I want to be doing, but then the second
Hmm.
you have a stroke of inspiration, then it kicks back in and you get
Take
rolling
off.
again and then off you go. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Right now I'm sitting here looking at a web browser page. We're actually recording this earlier than usual. It's actually recording. It's Thursday, November the 12th. It won't be out until the 14th. And as I'm sitting here recording this, I'm looking at Walmart's website showing orders starting in 36 minutes for the PlayStation 5.
Hmm.
And, I got a feeling it's going to be real damn hard to get in there and get an order. Their website's probably going to just fucking crash.
We
But
gonna try?
I think, I don't know. I think that
I think we should.
I think that you're much more gung ho about it than I am as far as getting one. Like, I don't, it's really weird for me to not be like, hell yeah, let's try and get one. Cause like that's just I'm
Hmm.
an early adopter. I want the new hardware,
Hmm.
but I have a fear that I'll buy it. We would get the digital edition because I don't care about discs. If we could get the
Yeah, it's fine.
digital edition, it's $100 cheaper. So it's $399. I'm afraid that we would get it, and I would hook it up in the living room, and there it would sit gathering dust. That we would play it. Maybe when God of War comes out, you'd play it. I don't know when I'd ever play it. I really don't. And
Well,
maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I would get it and I'd see Ratchet and Clank and I'd like fall in love with it. But like, I stopped playing my PS4 like what, 2 years ago.
hmm
So I'm like, why would I play the PS5? What
but
do you
that was
think would
like,
draw you back in?
there's a lot that's drawing me back in. God of War is like the number one thing, but we don't know when that's gonna be out. I
Do we
mean, we
have do
don't
we have a
know.
release date?
I don't think we do. I think they just were like, yeah, we're gonna make it. Unless it was next
Ragnarok,
year. Yeah.
2021, I think is all that we're
Yeah.
being told.
It was like, yeah, like December 2021 was like what I was seeing online. Um, but There's also Forbidden West. The Ratchet and Clank actually did look good. Also, there was something else that, what was it? Was it the new? There's a new Crash Bandicoot game that they're making or something like that, and that's been kind of pulling me back a little bit too. But I mean, I feel like with the PS4,
Spider-Man.
you know, yeah, Spider-Man, that's right. There was kind of a drought where there weren't a lot of games that were coming out that really enticed either of us to play. I think God of War was the last one that I really played on my PS4 that I got into. I tried playing The Last of Us 2, but I just don't care about that game. It's good, but it's not like great. But your style of gaming is different than mine.
Yeah.
You like competitive stuff. I don't really like competitive stuff, and I wouldn't play anything competitive on a console at all. But the campaign style games, story driven games, I feel like those are perfect for consoles, and I
Sure.
am still into those games.
Sure.
So there's more on PlayStation to come, I think. But like I said, if we could get away from exclusive games and we just had games that popped up on PC that are typically Sony games, I wouldn't be looking at a PS5. I wouldn't care. If I knew that Forbidden West and God of War 5 or God of War 5 Ragnarok was going to be coming to PC, I wouldn't care. I wouldn't care about it at all. I would not want to go in there and hook up a console and play it.
Yeah.
But I mean, it'd be like that with, any game that I have on the Switch too. Any Nintendo game, which will never live in a world where Nintendo games.
You're still playing your Switch, and
I am, yeah.
Their mine sits somewhere over there, and I've not
Right.
played it in a good while.
Yeah, I play my Switch for the games that are on there, but if they were on PC, I'd play them on PC. So
You're just following the games that you'd like to play.
yeah, that's all it is for me.
Do you care any? This is probably a weird question. Do you care anything about the physical appearance of the console?
I don't love it. I like the white color. I don't think I've had any of the white editions of the PlayStation. I am afraid that it might be a little bit fragile. Like the little wingtips that come up, like where there's that
Little
space
side
right
panels.
there.
I think that'd
I
be
know,
okay.
I feel like that would be like, I feel like I could like push it. I don't know why. It just looks a little goofy. I'm hoping the controller is going to be comfortable for me because I have smaller hands.
Strangely enough, I have heard from every review, evidently the controller is fantastic. The haptic feedbacks, the triggers, apparently they're incredible.
Yeah, I'm concerned about the features that they're going to have on the controller, and I know we talked about this in one of the previous episodes about how they're going to have different features, because typically like rumble kind of bothers me a little bit. I don't really like the sensation of it in my hands, but if they do it in a way that's not jarring, that actually is going to be immersive, then I'm probably not going to care. But I won't know until my hands are on it. So
I think that there's a big difference between your standard rumble, which is just a generic brrr in your hand that doesn't,
yeah, because I don't like that.
Whatever. I think that having something that is a more tactile, people have talked about how, in Fortnite you could with audio off, fire a shotgun, fire an SMG, fire a pistol, and you're going to be able to tell from the haptics alone. Or, what material your character is walking on. Is that ice? Is that dirt? Is that metal?
Yeah.
That stuff actually is really, really cool, and I'm intrigued by it. The controller looks good.
I think I might like that.
I've always been a fan of the DualShock controller. I've been a PlayStation gamer like most of my life. When I went from GameCube, I got the Wii, and then I got a PS3 about maybe 2 years later, and I played the PS3 to death. Played my PS4 to death until the end of maybe 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. So I've spent, if you're just going just by hours logged, PlayStation is where I've spent, because strangely enough, I wasn't a huge gamer when I was younger. I started gaming. I gamed more probably from the time I was maybe 16 to maybe 25. It's probably the time I spent the most time playing games. And I don't spend a ton of time now gaming. Now with Minecraft, we've been on there quite a bit here lately, but
Yeah.
So PlayStation is where I've probably logged the most hours holding a PlayStation 4 or a DualShock controller in my hand.
Yeah.
So I'm interested in it. It looks good. To go back to the appearance thing, is people probably think I'm crazy for saying or thinking this, but I think the PlayStation 5 looks like ass. I think it is freaking enormous, first off. And like it's I don't think we even really understand how big it is until like we see it in person. It's huge. I don't know.
It looks like a gigantic router.
It looks like a gaming router that someone put on steroids. I keep joking that it looks like an alien Pope hat. Like it looks stupid. To me, I look at the Xbox Series X. It's this sleek, rectangle. It's black.
Like a tower.
It's matte. It's got the vent up top. I look at that and I'm like, yeah, that looks good. That would look cool next to your TV. It looks minimal. It looks good. PS5 does not look minimal at all. It is so extra. It is so over the top.
It is extra.
It looks like what someone in 2010 thought 2030 would look like. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
it just looks strange to me. And then the size of it, like, we have to honestly consider, like, if we did buy it, where are we going to put it next to the TV?
We're going to put it where my Switch was.
It won't fit there.
Next to it, it will.
It will not.
Cabinet.
It will not fit there.
It won't fit on the cabinet on the top shelf?
No, it is too deep. Either on the shelf or on the
Even if you turn it sideways?
That's maybe the only option. It's going to be sideways, and you're just going to see cables coming out of the back of it towards the TV. It's going to look stupid.
We can put it down below, like, where the fireplace is.
And then cables are running up to the TV. It's a disaster.
We'll figure it out.
It's physically ridiculous.
We'll figure it out. It'll be okay.
That's a concern for me. I know it's a weird concern because some people are like, who cares? But, like, I don't know. I don't like stuff that's ugly. I don't like stuff that looks weird. And to me, you can have your own opinion. A lot of people like the way the PS5 looks. And maybe I think differently in person. I kind of think that I won't, because I think when I see it in person, I'm going to be even more astounded by how gargantuan it is and trying to fit that, over there. And again, this is slightly hypocritical because there sits my tower, which is 2 feet tall by, 2 feet wide. It's enormous, but that was intentional, and it's worked into, it's not in the way. It's behind my monitor. Like, it doesn't. I got a purposefully large desk to accommodate my large tower. And also, I go into my tower to work on things sometimes. If I'm going to replace my GPU or anything, door opens up, I get in there. I'm not going to go inside my PlayStation. It's just big for no reason. Why is it so big?
I don't know.
The Xbox Series X is like right there with it in raw power, and it's like 50% smaller. So, like, what are y'all doing? Why is it so huge? Maybe in 3 years, 3% of Xbox Series X's will have overheated and died, and like 0.1% of PS5s will have, because they made them bigger and they cooled better or something. Maybe we'll know in a few years. But for now, I'm like, just looks weird to me. I'm not against getting it. I mean, look, if I got it, I could. Part of me is like, I could cover it on the YouTube channel, but like, no one's gonna watch that video because, like,
you don't know that.
Excuse me. Everyone's covering it. So, like, for a smaller YouTuber like me, I need to find a niche, and the PS5 is not a niche. The PS5 is an ocean full of sharks.
Yeah, but the people who follow you might want to know, like, your opinion on it.
Sure, I mean,
you need to keep that in mind.
Might get a couple hundred views, but the idea, with my Surface Duo coverage, where I can routinely, top 1,000.
There could be someone out there that's like, I trust this Shane guy. I trust his opinion. I want to see what he thinks about this. Is it a good fit for me, because we tend to like the same things?
It's not that no one would watch it, but it's that it would be a very difficult niche or market to break into, where I try and find a smaller pond to be a bigger fish in. That's a pond that I'm a, what would you say? I'm a little puffer fish trying to look big, and I'm in a ocean surrounded by great whites, and I'm like, hey, look at me, So
I think I would like to have one. First of all, it's not all about you.
no,
Second of
sure,
all,
sure. Keep in mind, I've got these pages open, and if we did get one, it would be primarily for you. I mean,
yeah,
I mean, obviously, I would have an account on there, but I wouldn't be doing it because
yeah,
because I want a PlayStation 5. I would be doing it because because I know that eventually we will have one.
yeah.
The question is, do we wait until God of War is out, Horizon is out, and then we go for it, or do we do it now and then it sits there until it waits? It just sits there by the TV waiting
No,
for.
there's already. I mean, there are games that are already out for it. So it's not like there's not games out for it. There
I know,
are games out
but
for
are there
it.
games out for it that you care about?
Yeah, it's the Spider-Man game. I mean,
So-
that one, like, I'm like pretty excited about that one. And then I'm sure that there are other few ones as well. Plus, I think they have backwards compatibility too. So
Yeah, but I don't care about that.
yeah, but I do, because if that means that I can play some of my games on PS5, then I don't really need to have my PS4 anymore. And then
Yeah.
that's something that we could free up.
Yeah,
Because I
we've
don't
got.
like having unnecessary things. Like, I've got my Wii that I haven't touched in forever that I bought so I could play Super Mario Sunshine, and now I have that on my Switch, which is
Yeah.
awesome. So, like, to me, it's there are benefits to it. Also, it's exciting because I've never gotten that many consoles because I was poor growing up. So when I got my PS3, I got that for Christmas, and I remember feeling, I'm nostalgic about that. I got my PS1 when we moved to Tennessee, and we didn't have any friends and we didn't know anybody, but I made friends because I had a PS1,
Yeah.
And I got my GameCube as a gift for doing like 2 summers of babysitting in a row without getting paid. Basically, I got a TV and a GameCube. So, like, for me, it's almost like, yeah, it's expensive and there might not be a lot of games for it now, but it's like we've also gotten to the point where if we want something, we can find a way to get it and enjoy it. And for me, like, I'm not gonna pass up that ability to get something I want
Sure.
if I can definitely do it. It's just,
Sure.
I don't know. I have a lot of emotional attachments to PlayStation, and I think I always will. I'll never not get excited when I hear the startup music, and there's just a lot, and I have a lot of hopes. Like maybe a new Uncharted game eventually, which might not ever happen, or to once again play a Tomb Raider game on. I like playing it on PC, but there's something nostalgic about playing it on PlayStation for me.
It feels like home to you.
It does feel like home for sure. So
Yeah.
there's a lot that I have high hopes. So
Sure. All very valid. Like I said, we'll wind up with one eventually. And for people that will hear this and say, "Oh, clearly now they're PlayStation biased," we have PCs.
yeah,
Why would anybody that own two high-end gaming PCs, or at least mid to high-range gaming PCs, why would you buy an Xbox?
we don't need to. We can play their games here.
You just play them here. So
Yeah.
I will continue playing quote unquote Microsoft games, and then we will get our PlayStation to handle those. And we both have a Switch. We've had two PS2s, or PS2s, good lord, two PS4s, two gaming PCs. We're just gamers. We're not, we have no allegiance in that regard. Just because we can say, played a lot of PlayStation games, like a lot of PlayStation games, that's fine. But that doesn't mean that we're like, people like, oh, I've had so many people, like I'd post a video that would be, something like, hey, the PS5 doesn't have quick resume. And people would be like, you're biased. Or like, it's like, no, I'm not. I'm just stating stuff as it is. So.
You're Satan.
Yeah, exactly.
I heard you say I'm Satan.
I said I'm stating things as it is.
I know. I heard Satan. I like that.
Some people may think that. I don't know. So.
Specifically because of your bias.
Oh yeah. That's for sure. That's what it is. Guys, I think that's going to bring us to the end of this episode. You can always head over to scaryfliteral.com. There's links to all of our stuff there: YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and so forth. Follow us on Twitter at Scary if Literal. Great way to interact with us and ask questions, talk to us, and so forth and so on. Thank you for joining me today, Jessi. My name is Shane. This was Podcast Revived, and until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.